Lonely, 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 hey, lonely at the top. Hey, 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 hey. Today has been one of the most successful hate watch days. Okay, not one of, okay. Yes, it's one of the most successful hate watch days that I've had. In fact, it's the most successful hate watch day I've had this year. This year alone, this is the most successful hate watch day I've had. And thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you to teams like Chelsea for making my day. Thank you to teams like Fulham for making my day. I don't want to even talk about the Manchester United one because we both know that's a joke, man. I don't get it. I don't get it. Please, someone tell me, ni nini mbaya na Manchester United? What is wrong with Manchester United? Because at this point, I'm at that point where in all honesty, I really don't understand. So if you're a Manchester United fan, wherever you are, please explain to me what happened. Because at this point, Game saying the only thing we can be sure of is over 1.5. Wait, I just wanna let me first confirm something. Uh let's see. So today was Manchester United versus Leeds, and you would have hoped that something would have happened today, especially considering they've already played Leeds. So today, these people decided, and yeah, actually, there are two things that are difficult this season. One is hating Arsenal. It's too much of a work, and two is supporting Manchester United because even when you have hope, you don't have hope at all. Ni kama yani, it's like when you, I even can't explain it. You explain it to me. What in the world is happening to this team called Manchester United? Anyway, let me not talk much about it because in real sense there wasn't even much to say about it. Manchester United went on another draw today, 1-1 against Leeds, and if they would have won today, especially considering the results that we got from Chelsea, they had a chance to actually go top of Chelsea, and they would have been fifth on the table. But Manchester United did the most predictable thing Manchester United can do, which is what? Not win. Okay. Now, that being said, in real honesty, I think I'm actually putting so much on them because in all honesty, no one today expected Manchester United to win. No one ever expects Manchester United to win. If Manchester United wins, it's always, let me not use the word miracle. But in all honesty, I feel like some questions now need to be asked. I mean, I know you're trusting the process, and I know you're trying to think like, maybe we can pull the Mikel Arteta thing. I mean, trust the process, 5 years in it, and maybe we end up having what we wanted. But at some point, something's gotta give. Something's gotta give. Because you can't all keep saying that this coach knows what he's doing. And to this point, when you look at the games that he has won, you start to question everything, not just the tactics, but also the kind of squad selection that he makes every day. And sticking to this formation, that's clearly, are you guys planning to sign this January? Because I also have that question too. Because if you don't sign this January, I really don't know. I really, really, really don't know. I can't say I know because with Manchester United, it's just complicated. I'm not even going to talk much about it. Let's move to the Liverpool game. Now, Liverpool drew 2-2 with Fulham today. They were playing at Craven Cottage. Now, this is the most hilarious thing I have seen today. Now, on the first half, I could say Liverpool were playing shitty. There was nothing there that they were doing that was significant at all. In fact, I would say Fulham had the whole first half to themselves. It's like they were playing against the defense. But I have to admit, if there's one thing that Liverpool, and it's weird because I want to say if there's one thing that Liverpool have really corrected is their defense. But then again, looking at how they conceded the second goal, you really have to start asking yourself questions again. But then let's look at today's game. So first half entirely Fulham. Fulham had them on the ropes 100%. There wasn't really much they could do. I mean, the way Wilson was playing today, he was playing like he was a man possessed. A man possessed. The way Fulham front three was actually coordinating. Hey man, I have to admit that was something. And then, definitely Smith Rowe is there doing the thing. And I have to admit, I love the way Fulham were. organized today. It's like they knew they were playing Liverpool and they gave them the respect that um, we'll definitely expect them to give wakicheza na timu kama Liverpool. But I always tell people, Craven Cottage si mahali pa unaendaga tu na unatoa points. I mean, Arsenal really struggled to get points there. We have struggled for many years, and this year we went there and we did win, and most people thought that that was just another easy win. Most of these wins we are pulling, they're not easy wins. They may look easy sometimes, considering the fact maybe the squad that we have, and maybe they may look easy considering what you expect from Arsenal. They may even look easy considering um, the kind of team that we are playing. But I promise you, these away games are really not easy to pull. And sometimes it takes almost everything from us to actually pull out those wins and to see us do it the way we do it. I have to admit, sometimes I see Liverpool go and struggle there. I see Man City go and struggle in certain places. And I'm starting to be a little bit proud of my team because, yo, today, today was interesting. So it started with first half. So Wilson did score a goal for Fulham, and then later on, it was equalized by Vats. And to be honest, I'm starting to like the fact that Vats is actually starting come to live up to the expectation that was placed on him when he was bought. And it hasn't been easy for him, and I can't really say it's all about him. There's still much to do with the coach. I always say it. The first problem with the Liverpool is the coach. And the more you deny it, the more it's evident. But the first problem with Liverpool is the coach. The second thing I would say, um, it hasn't been much of his fault because of the squad selection. Liverpool keeps changing their front three every now and then, and sometimes it's due to injury, so I can't really blame the coach on that one. But sometimes it's just the coach trying to overthink things, and you look at the formation and you look at the players that he has selected with that particular formation, it's really not working. So today they were 1-1. Hapo tu kidogo tu kufika hapo sijui dakika sijui 90 what Cody Gakpo in it. Boom, goal. 2-1. All they had to do was defend for the next, I think, 2 minutes. Yes. But who is Liverpool? 30 seconds later, 30 seconds from scoring their goal, 30 seconds from the time they scored their goals, boom, equalizer. Now, I'll be honest and I'll be fair on this one. The goal that Liverpool conceded was not just any kind of goal. That's the kind of goal that you expect from that's what you call a world-class goal. And it's the kind of goal that you look at the team and you're not even sure whose fault it was. Like you can't even place the fault on anyone because that's just a mark of brilliance. That's that kind of top-notch strike. That's not what you expect someone who scored a goal last on what was it? April 2023. That's the last time Reed scored a goal. And then he comes and pulls out that kind of a goal. And you have to be honest, you have to admit that that was spectacular. That was one hell of a goal. So to be down with such a goal, it's the same way. I always tell people when Arsenal drew with Sunderland uh, at their ground, Stadium of Light, I was hurt, but I didn't fault the team so much. I actually faulted Arteta on that one because I felt like he put in a substitute that changed the mentality of the players to be defensive minded. When you remove your attacking midfielder and you replace him with a centre back, basically what you're telling the entire squad is fall back and defend the goal. And one thing you have to understand about a Premier League this season or any other season ever, one goal is never enough. And twice we've been faulted because of that. But this time it was Liverpool. They needed to understand one goal wasn't enough. But on this one, I can't really say that they actually were trying to defend the one goal. It's just so happened that hey man, it's difficult for Liverpool. It's really difficult for Liverpool. Like every time they try to catch a break, something happens. And I mean, I know Arsenal, we've been there and we've been through this, so I can relate to what they're going through. But every time they try to catch a break, because when you look at that goal from Wilson, at one point, in fact, the both goals, there was a contention of offside. When you look at the first goal for Wilson and then the goal that Vart scored, both goals it had to go to VR to decide if it's a goal or if it was offside. But when you look at that goal that they conceded, that was just a goal that the ball was just thrown up to Numatua defense, and Wilson akambiwa chase. And you have to admit the finishing was brilliant because to finish at that angle with that kind of a strike, it's not also that simple. But even then, manze, unakaa hivi unajiuliza, where was the defense? And how do you go and play high line without manze? Here's the thing, high line si rahisi kucheza. And to play high line, you need all your defense to be in synchron. Because kama kuna mahali kuna ka disconnect kadogo hivi, you guys will be caught off the ball so many times, and so many times you will pay for it. And in this one, I have to admit, they did pay for it. When you look at the goal, that was one spectacular goal. But I also have to admit, the one too that they played to actually score the equalizer was also a good one. Ta ta ta, and boom. And Vats got his I think it's his second goal, right? This season. It should be his second goal. Yeah, but it's his first goal this year. But anyway, sio watu wengi wamefunga this year, so let me not fault him on that. Hata Haaland, the great goal scorer, hajafunga this year. Now, it was difficult for Liverpool, but that at least secured them with the, well, considering that teams zote that zingepata chance ya kukaribia zilidraw, well, it didn't really hurt them that much. They would have gained points on Aston Villa, but yeah, Craven Cottage is not a place where anyone goes and just comes out with points. So for them to do what they did, you still have to give them credit for that. It's not easy. Now moving to the big match of the day, that is Chelsea, actually, let's say Manchester City versus Chelsea. Now, this one was very much awaited, and I spoke about it on yesterday's video because there was so much that I was looking forward to this game. And when it came to it, and by then it was like a goal fest, manze. Hey, the amount of goals that have been scored today, even Everton conceded 4 goals. I don't even remember the last time Everton conceded 4 goals. The goal fest that happened today, that was, let me look at this. Let me tell you. So I know Brian, what was it? Let's see, EPL results. EPL results. So today we had Leeds at 1-1. And I'm just saying this before we jump into the Chelsea Manchester City game, or rather Manchester City Chelsea game. So we had Leeds versus Manchester United, which ended at 1-1. Tottenham versus Sunderland, which ended at 1-1. And then we had Newcastle, who won 2-0 against Crystal Palace. But the one thing I can say, Crystal Palace started the season very well defensively, but lately, man, they've been conceding goals like never before. In all honesty, I can't blame them as well because the most the best defense in the league right now is Arsenal, and even they are conceding goals like crazy. I guess the biggest difference between us and them is we have an attack that can actually bring those goals back. And depth is one of the biggest problems that Crystal Palace have. But on the bright side, they have bought Brendan Johnson from Tottenham, so hiyo najua itawasaidia mali, and hopefully it'll make a difference with the kind of squad wako nao, because me uangaliaga Crystal Palace, and one of the things I can say about Crystal Palace is they have a very good attack, but they really lack on the wide areas. Wings zao zinakuwaga like they're so predictable in the way they attack because you know who's going to play and how they're going to play. They're very much like Manchester United. You really know everything about them. In fact, they pretty much play the same formation. But they started the year well. Defensively, they were strong. Defensively, they were mighty. And if you were playing fantasy, I can tell you for a fact, everyone started with Munoz and Gehi qua defense this season. Everyone had them somewhere. Everyone had one of them or two of them both. And it's because they have had a very good defensive run. Ukiangalia the games that they have been playing, they have been really having some very good defensive plays. So today they lost 2-0 to Newcastle, but they were away, so we can give them that. And then came the Everton Brentford match. Now, you remember yesterday when I told you, if there's kuna team mbili very hard to bet on right now, ni hizi teams za Merseyside, Everton na Liverpool. Oh my God. Hizi team mbili kuziekea bet nika. I mean, it's difficult gambling with these two teams because you can never predict how it will go. No one would think that Everton would concede 4 goals at home. How do you concede 4 goals at home? Eh. Anyway, kudos to Brentford. They have been in good form this season, and the things that they're pulling up, you won't even notice that they actually lost two of their best attacking players in Wissa and Mbeumo. So ukiona na perform hivi, that means they have an identity that they have stuck with, an identity that despite who is playing, it will still stick because these guys haven't changed the way they play. They still have runners, they still play the same way they played last season without just, you know, the two players. Now I always ask myself, Igor Thiago, hey yo, guy scored an hat-trick today. And you have to wonder, Igor Thiago was bought. He came in last season. He didn't come in this season, but he had an injury. I think he had an ACL injury, which kept him out for the entire season. So when you think about it, last season, Brentford wangecheza walikuwa wanafaa kucheza eh, Kevin Schade on the left side, Mbeumo on the right side, and then Igor Thiago was supposed to be the striker, and then Wissa was supposed to play either number 10 or coming off the bench as an extra attacking striker. And you have to ask yourself, you really have to ask yourself, really have to ask yourself, if this team had Igor Thiago last season, manze, eh, Brentford. Hey, there's an academy they're running there that is not even a joke. These guys are playing football, I'm saying. And you have to start giving them the respect that they deserve. The only pain I feel today is I did not captain Igor Thiago, but he's still in my squad. So well good on that one. I actually figured I knew Walter Made would not play. I knew it. I knew Wisa. Venye Wisa amerudi na venye anacheza. I knew Wisa was going to actually bench the guy. So I definitely put him on bench as well. So kudos to Walter Mad. Kudos to Igor for getting his first hat trick. I think it's his first hat trick, right? Yeah, it's first hat trick. I think the only other time aliscored more than one was wakicheza na Manchester United. He scored two goals, I think, right? Yeah, because Manchester United needed him too. Unajua, seti na wanapanua. Anyway, moving on from that one. So came in the Fulham versus Liverpool, who drew 2-2. And manze, if you today went and said draw, manze ungepata draw kibao. Kama wewe ni gambler. Kama ni gambling machine yani. So Liverpool Fulham 2-2 and then Manchester City versus Chelsea also 1-1. So kulikuwa na draw ngapi? 1 2 3 4. Draw 4. Na game zote leo ungeka over 1.5, you're definitely getting your money. 100% pesa yako ilikuwa inaingia ndakas. Naangalia tu hivi na kila kitu konditi. So let's talk about Chelsea versus or rather wacha nianze na Manchester City versus Chelsea because Manchester City ndo walikuwa at home. So from the start, I actually looked at the squad and I is a squad when I looked at Manchester City, and the squad was when I looked at the squad and I was like, okay, I'm impressed because his squad is mchezo. On the back they had Donnarumma and then they had their defense of back four ilikuwa ni Matheus Nunes, walikuwa na Ruben Diaz and then Variol and O'Reilly. And then on midfield they had Bernardo Silva, Rodri na Reindeer. Alafu playing as pivotal eight ilikuwa ni Chucky na Foden and then top as their striker ilikuwa ni Haaland. So when you look at that squad, that's a very heavy squad. Now, when I look at their bench, that is where I actually felt like, uh-uh, 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 uh-uh. Their bench was lacking. The bench was seriously lacking. And if you have a squad like that one, because on this one, Variol, Tijani, came in to replace Savinho and Ake, who played last week. So Savinho and Ake started last week. So Guardiola just switched those two and played with the same squad that he played with last week, or rather the previous game. Just switched the two people. But when you looked at that bench and you realize that the only significant person for your bench, attacking wise, is Doku. Mm-mm-mm. You started to wonder. Ungeanza tu kujiuliza. So wewe uliacha Semenyo acheze ndio aumize Arsenali na unajua una attacking yako iko depleted. Guardiola. Guardiola. But anyway, I'm sure he knows what he's doing. If there's one manager that I've never doubted in what his plans in here, and sometimes you get things wrong, sometimes you get things right. That is assuming that he actually did it for that reason. But the only significant player in the attacking front kwa bench ya Manchester City was Doku. And even when you look at the entire game, he is the only person Guardiola brought on kwa game. There was no other substitute that Guardiola brought on. It was just him. So that really is scary when you only have one significant attacking forward. In fact, if you have only one substitute, eventually later Nathan Ake, but from on the attacking side, there's only one person on later, and that's Doku. Doku. That's the only person who looked on her. And then I went on to look at Chelsea's first 11, and I had to look because, it's me being me. And then nikiangalia nikaona first of all wametoa Sanchez kwa post na wakaanza na Jorgensen, which was a good thing. And then the back four was Achipong, Chalobah, Badiashile, Gusto. And then in the midfield they had James and Fernandez, Reece James that is. And then they had Estavao Palma and Pedro Neto. And up front they had Joao Pedro. Now I don't know why they keep insisting on Joao Pedro, but me personally, mi ndawambia. When Dilap came in that field, Dilap did more with the minutes that he had than Pedro did the entire game. And to be honest, I've always said this. Pedro is a good player, but he's not a good player when you're playing big teams. Every time Chelsea plays big teams, Chelsea plays well, but it's never Pedro. Pedro, me, Chelsea wakisign Pedro alafu wakasign Dilap. And then me, again, I will always say, when you make those kind of signings, you have to ask yourself, you have, okay, Estavao is really good, but he's not Premier League proven, and he still need time to actually adapt. And then you went on and brought Joao Pedro, and then you went on and brought Estavao, and then unakaa unaanza kujiuliza, is this the attacking front that you want to contest the Premier League with, or is this the attacking threat that you just want to take you to the top four, and then you'll figure out the rest once you're there? Because me, I had questions, and if you didn't have questions as a Chelsea fan, then I have a problem. I also have questions for you. Wacha niseme hivyo. Because man, if you people say that Arsenal tulikuwa tuna lack ambition, ama si lack ambition by kumaliza number 2, then nyinyi mna lack ambition by kuanza kununua tu watu na ndo muwauze. But let me not get personal. Of course, it's possible. But here's the thing. I'm looking I was looking at this first 11 and I was like, okay, this is not a bad first 11. Personally, I would have preferred Delap over Joe Pedro. But then again, I figure the coach had his own reasons to actually do this. Plus, I don't think the coach that is on interim wanted to disrupt the squad much, considering the fact that he's only there temporarily. And I am sure he also wanted to prove a point, Kidogo. So, them pulling up a draw at City. The funny thing about this is when we were coming to this game, I realized one thing. Chelsea have only won one game, one single game since end of November. And I think it was the game against Everton. Chelsea haven't won any game in December. And coming to this year, Chelsea haven't yet won any game as well. That's not a joke when you're talking about the world champion, club world champion. If you hold that kind of a title, I would expect you to actually show something about it. But you're going the whole of December without winning a single game, or rather just winning a single game. Okay, sawa, nimejicorrect. Wacha kushindia hapo kitu kidogo. When you look at the entire fixture for the month of December, let's look at this because I'm sure I have it somewhere. Yeah. So let's see. So the first game in December was on the 3rd of December where they played Leeds and they lost 3-1. The second game was a game that they played FC Bournemouth and they drew 0-0. And then they went on to the Champions League and got battered. Okay, not battered, but they lost 2-1 to Atalanta. And then they came back and won a game against Everton, which is the only game they won. And then they went on. Okay, this is the only game they won on the league, and then they came and won against Cardiff City, which was a 3-1 win. Oh, that was good, but that was on the League Cup. So yeah, there's that. And then they came back to the Premier League and they drew 2-2 with Newcastle, and then they went on to lose 2-1 to Aston Villa, and then they went to draw 2-2 with Bournemouth before they come today, and then they drew 1-1 with Manchester City. The next game is against Fulham, and they're going to the Craven Cottage. It's a London derby, and I kind of have a feeling Chelsea are going to lose this one as well. However, That game is actually played on the 7th. When's the 7th? The 7th should be on Wednesday, I think, if I'm not wrong. Yes, the 7th will be on Wednesday. And then it's getting worse. So they play on the 7th against Fulham. And then on is it Sunday? No, on Saturday, they play against Arsenal. Um, the first League Cup game. So that one they'll be at home, still in London. So the best thing about it is the rest of this week they're not leaving London. But then again, so is Arsenal because they actually have a game against Liverpool and that's on Echo Emirates. So hopefully wote watakuwa wamerest vizuri. After that they have Brentford and then they have Champions League against Payfors. So let's see where that goes. But I have to be honest, if you're a Chelsea fan, there has to be a point where you start to get concerned with the way Chelsea is actually heading. Because let me tell you the truth, if you guys lose against if you guys lose against Fulham, then there is a high possibility, high possibility that Manchester United may actually go on top of you. Now, Manchester United being Manchester United, you can really hope so much from them. But there is another team called Sunderland. Hiyo msipojichunga nayo, hai itawaibisha hapa nje, itawaibisha. Hii timu inaitwa Sunderland yenye kuna Major General Granit Xhaka hapo katikati, anapanga watu ni kama ground yake. Hii timu itawaibisha. Endelea tufanya ndio mchezo mnacheza hapo. I mean for real, that game, the things that you guys are doing hapo hivyo katikati ya ligi, manze, hiyo table si ya mtu. Hata sisi Arsenal tukiwa hapo at the top tunajua sio yetu. Hii table si ya mtu. Hii table ni mwenye anamalizaga juu mwisho, and we can attest to that. We as Arsenal we can attest to that. But ni endeleeni tu kufanya mchezo wenye mnacheza hapo hivyo. Mtaenda kucheza ile Conference League yenye mnatamani kucheza, ama ni Conference League mnataka kushinda kucheza ndio mkaishinde tena. Unajua ni conference mnataka hii yote now it's starting to make sense. Mnataka kwenda kucheza conference. Ah. Let's put that aside. So coming to this game, Chelsea had only won one game the whole of December, and they had started the year knowing that they're actually going to play Manchester City. So there was really, really, really much pressure put on them, and there was also the point whereby they lost their coach. So there was a lot was happening in Chelsea. To be honest, this with all the chaos that has been going around in Chelsea, for them to perform the way they performed today, I have to admit I am impressed. And on top of that, knowing that Kokorea was not in the squad and they also did not have Caicedo. But please do not dare use that as an excuse, because if I start counting how many players from Manchester City were also not in today, tutapata a very, very significant number. But even then, I'm looking at this one and I'm thinking to myself, so they didn't have Caicedo because Caicedo went on and did the dumbest thing ever, which everyone keeps asking. Why does Caicedo do this every time? And this pisses me off because people like to compare Caicedo and Declan Rice. Here's the thing, kinye najoka kuhusu Declan is he is very mindful about his tackle and he is very mindful about the next game. I remember when we were playing Real Madrid and then we were ahead. I think we were winning the game. We were already winning the game. And then it was the second game actually, when we were at Santiago Bernabeu, and then nitwaje mse tulimwachilia nikasahau mambo yake. What's his name? Partey. Yes. Partey went on and made a very, very serious, stupid tackle, and he could have just walked away and the referee would have looked the other side, but he went on and just tried to make some simple akakula yellow card. And then I would see Declan Rice, alikama come show, what? Why? We had already won this. The most important game we're supposed to be thinking about is the next game, not this game. Hii tushashinda, hii ni yetu. Now I'm talking like this because I'm looking at Caicedo. You knew very well you are playing Manchester City next. If I enter the game and I know I only have one yellow card left and I'm missing the next game because of a 5 yellow card accumulation rule, then I have to be honest. I will go to that game very cautious and I will try to play my heart out, but I will make sure that I do not make any reckless challenge that will keep me away from the Manchester City away game. Because today, Reece James pulled a magnificent performance, but you would still have to admit they really, really, really needed him. They really needed Caicedo. If Caicedo was there, that midfield would have been more because Enzo did the most too. Actually, today was one of the games that I actually watched and I said, yo, I love the way Enzo has played today. He did some stupid things, but still, you're bound to do that if you're playing that position. But point is, Caicedo would have been so much of added force to the Chelsea that played today. I still have to commend Chelsea because that was a brilliant performance. And from Arsenal to you, we have to say thank you and thank you very much. When we meet Manchester United, we will return the favor so that msione ni kama tu hii favor ni pande moja. But thank you and thank you very much. We did it for you kwa Aston Villa, tukihope mtafanya kitu, but again you did nothing. Tutajaribu kuwafanyia tena kwa Liverpool, tuone kama mtafanya kitu. Hii mkono naye tutarudisha, msione niko baya. London to London tunawarudishia hii mkono. But yo, thank you very much. So right now today Chelsea wame make sure tuliambia you have nothing to fear. When you have nothing to fear. Enter this one with 100% confidence. Usiogope kitu yote. You have absolutely nothing to fear. And Real says, I have to admit, Arsenal aliendoko na walicheza ni kama they have nothing to fear. At no point did they actually put up the bus manze. Arsenal walikuwa wanacheza ni kama tumejiamini na nyinyi. 2020. 2020. And I was looking at the entire game, apart from Joao Pedro, the whole attacking force ilikuwa inafanya kazi yake. Estevao was a bit, ndasemaje, overwhelmed. This was still a big game for him, but even then he still did some things. I'm saying he still did some things, but I have to give kudos to Reece James. Manze. Today he put on what you call a captain's performance. That was one hell of a performance. The way he was playing, manze alikuwa na play ni kama cheki. Hii team ni yangu na ni yangu peke yangu, because every time someone made a mistake, it always felt like Reece James was there to clean it up. Every time they went forward, it always felt like Chris James had a part to play in it. Like there was just a part that Chris James ali play in it for you guys to get forward. Chris James played like he knew I don't have Caicedo next to me, and I have to put in that brilliant performance. And I have to admit, he is now playing he is playing like a real captain. This is the kind of captain performance you need to see from your captain, and that was a good performance. That was you knowing that no one else is going to do it if I don't do it, so let me do it the best way I know how, and I'm going to do it in a way that I crash. And that guy performed. Yo yo but today people there were other people that Manze sikuwa expected. Manze Badia shill, hey, ah, Badia shill. Today I was happy with Chelsea. Even when they were 1-0, hata tukiwa hapo dakika 88 wakiwa 1-0, I would look at the team and I would say, you did not make enough attacking threat, but I'm still happy with the performance that you guys put in. I am not a Chelsea fan, but I am a fan of football. And when I see good football, I recognize. And hii hapa hivi, you guys muli pull up. Muli pull up. Pull up. Now, standing as it is, the table has now been established for the weekend. Yeah? So top of the table is Arsenal, having played 20 games. 20 games in the league. Of the 20 games in the league, we've lost two, and we have drawn three. So with a goal difference of 40, I mean, we have scored 40 goals and conceded 14 goals. That puts us at a goal difference of 26. So we have 26 goals, goal in the goal difference that is, and then we have 48 points after 20 matches. Now Manchester City come in second, having played 20 games. They have drawn three and they have lost four. So Manchester City have only lost two games more than Arsenal. They've scored 44 goals, which is 4 goals more than Arsenal, but they've conceded 18 goals, which is also 4 goals more than Arsenal, which also puts them at 26 goals, same as Arsenal, but 42 points. That means they are 6 points behind Arsenal. And then there's Aston Villa, who have played 20 games, and they have drawn three, and they have also lost four. They have scored 33 goals, but they've conceded 24, which puts them at a goal difference of 9 with 42 points. So currently, right now, Manchester City and Aston Villa are 6 points behind, 6 points behind Arsenal. The only difference between them is the goal difference. and Manchester City have 26 goals and Aston Villa have nine goals. So, there's no way Aston Villa is catching up with them on goals. So the only way they're actually going to beat Manchester City on this run is if they actually beat them on points. And Manchester City are yet to play more games. Actually, they're going to play two more games than Aston Villa this January. So that gives Villa a very good, strong chance of actually going above City. Not that I want that to happen. In real sense, I want them both to lose. But seeing that I want that pressure reduced, I won't mind City losing points before Villa. And then comes Liverpool, who have played 20 games, and they have won 10, they have drawn 4, and they have lost 6. Yo, that's a lot. Now, the goal difference. So at this point, Liverpool have lost the same amount of games they lost last season, the entire last season. Now, when I'm looking at this, Liverpool have scored 32 goals and have conceded 28 goals. Yeah, that's a lot. They are 34 points. That means they have 34 points. That means they're like what? 8 points behind Villa. That puts them, yo, that's a lot. Do you know the difference between Chelsea and Arsenal? Chelsea have played 20 games. They have won 8, they have drawn 7, and they have lost 5. They have scored 33 goals and conceded 22 goals, which puts them at a goal difference of 11, and they have 31 points. Arsenal have 48, Chelsea have 31. Do the math. Manchester United also has 31 points. And after Manchester United, we have Brentford and Sunderland, who have 30 points each. Each 30 points. Goal difference hata hawajaachana sana. So that means if Chelsea and Manchester United are not serious, Sunderland and Brentford may actually go top of them very, very soon because the difference between them is 1 goal. In fact, Newcastle is actually also creeping up at 29 points and they are 9. So Newcastle, Sunderland, Brentford have a good chance of going over Chelsea and Manchester United if results do not change. Currently, at the moment, the top scorer is still Haaland with 19 goals, and then we have Igo Thiago with 14 goals. Guys scoring goals like nonsense. If this guy had Mbeumo and Wisa still behind him doing the things that the other guys are doing for him, manze Brentford would be as forced to reckon with right now. And mngekuwa mnatoroka mbali sana. But as it stands, Arsenal are top of the table, lonely at the top, lonely, lonely. Mimi naambiaga it's difficult to hate this team. Hii team unaweza ichukia mpaka usikie tu umefika tu mahali and then you're like, okay, enough man, enough. And I have to be honest, with the way we are playing with the squad that we have, if Arteta does not win anything this season, I am one of the few people that actually will start considering the idea of Arteta out. Because to be honest, there is no way you lose with the kind of squad that you have. I would expect something way much better with this kind of squad. And if I feel like any other coach was given this kind of squad, they would be doing just as well as he's doing right now. And we would expect the same from them. So we have a very superior squad, and I hope that he utilizes that squad to the maximum. But most importantly, I hope that he wins trophy with this squad because we need this trophy. Na tukishinda tutaka tu hata mtanifanya niongee Kiswahili yenye iko when we win. Hata tuseme if we win, when we win. Tushaanza kutafuta venue ya sherehe, but sawa. Anyway, all in all, it was a very, very good hate watch day. I got to see Manchester United draw 1-1 with Leeds. I got to see Liverpool draw 2-2 with Fulham, and then I got to see Chelsea and Manchester City draw 1-1. In that case, I gained 2 points over all those teams. So today was a successful hate watch. You come to hate watch Arsenal, you find yourself love watching Arsenal and hate watching your own team because you're full of hate in the way that your team is playing. Who would have known? Hey, hey, hey. Mtatutambua. You wait. You wait. Catch you on the next one. Let's meet up. Kuna game ya Liverpool hapo na nini. We'll try and stream watch that one, live stream watch. And hopefully you guys can join us and we can have fun together. But as it stands, Arsenal are at the top, followed with Manchester City and Aston Villa, and the league continues. See you all next week.